Welcome. My name is Colleen Tauke and I'm the sewing specialist here at Fons & Porter. In this Quilting Quickly tutorial, I'll show you how to put together the blocks for the quilt called Sassy Sister. If you'd like to purchase this pattern, please visit our website. We're going to be using 2.5-inch pre-cut strips in a great selection of more modern prints, a lot of colors that will pop, and then we're going to put it with a neutral background like a white, and then a print just to kind of give it that Irish chain kind of effect that goes through the quilt. So I'll slide these out of the way. And from each of those 2.5-inch pre-cut strips, we're going to cut pieces that will fit into our block, as you see here. What we're going to be doing, and I've got one marked so that you kind of have an idea of what you need to cut. There are 6.5-inch rectangles, 4.5-inch rectangles, some squares, and then some narrower blocks, something you don't always see us do with pre-cuts, but because we have the great selection of colors, let's use them as in any way we can. So we're going to be cutting 2 of the 6.5s. We're going to cut a 4.5-inch rectangle, 1 2.5-inch square, and then we're getting into those narrow pieces. So we're cutting a 1.5-inch strip off of here. From that, you need 2 that are 4.5 long and 2 that are 2.5 long. And that way you have all of the pieces from each strip. You'll have a good variety. What you'll probably want to do, though, as you cut those pieces, is put all of the 6.5s in one pile, all the 4.5s together, all the 2.5 squares, stack them up, and that's going to be kind of your ingredients for putting this block together. So I have a lot of the pieces here that go into the one you see. And once you would have all those cut, then you can start creating your blocks. But set those aside. We have one more thing that we need to get ready. You've seen all the bright colors in here, but you see the white squares that go down through the block, and you see the gray rectangles that set off that diagonal through the block. We have to prepare those pieces. So from white, we're going to be cutting 2.5-inch strips. And from the gray, we're going to cut a 1.5-inch strip. And the instructions will tell you how many of these strips to cut. And then you're going to put this into a strip set. So you're going to put right sides together and seam those together. Have one already prepared, like this. So you're going to press your seam allowances toward the gray. And then from this, you're going to cut off segments. And out the ruler. We're going to be cutting 2.5-inch segments off of this strip, and they will become, if you look really closely, the pieces that are right here. The little gray and a white square, a gray and a white square, gray, white square, gray, white square. We also will need some gray rectangles, small ones, and some of the larger also to create that overall effect to put it together. So I've got, I've got some of the rows already created. Let me show you how, if you haven't done cutting off of strips yet, let's just do a little bit on that. And our strip, it's a 2-inch finish, so with our seam allowance, we just need 2.5. And you would just cut down through to get the required number that you need for your quilt top. So we have those. Now, remember I said we needed those other gray rectangles, some small ones and some large, and I'll show you where those fall in the construction. Now, because this block can be a little bit confusing, there's a lot of pieces going on here, what you can do is take our diagram and enlarge it with your computer and print out the rows so you know what the configuration of your pieces is and the overall block, if you haven't already finished one of your blocks, and put it right beside you so that when you go to put your pieces together, you get things in the right place. It's very easy to accidentally flip a block around in a different position. So if I lay it here, I look at the first row, I need to have one of those units, those gray and white ones that we were cutting. Here is right here. We have a rectangle beside it, and then we have a small rectangle that we cut earlier, and then we're putting in long bars and short bars, and we're going to create the entire row. So if you have to think about, if you lay it all out, you'll think, okay, this piece can then go to this subunit. These two have to be connected first. join it to the large 6.5 bar, create the row, and it looks just like your diagram. Then you step to the next one. Again, we're using a piece of that gray and white strip set that we had, a 2.5-inch square, small rectangles here, and the 4.5 by 1.5. So create row number 2. Same thing here, and we're going down. And you can see that that white square steps diagonally across the block, that the gray makes kind of an L shape coming up through. That's your key, that you've got it put together the right direction. Look for that strong angle, those gray pieces to be kind of a corner around the white square. Join your rows together, and you've got the blocks for Sassy Sister. Now, it's a 1-block quilt, which means that block gets repeated. It's all about the placement within the quilt. So it's a twist and turn kind of thing to get those long diagonals running through the quilt. We finish with a turquoise border and some gray binding, and you've completed your quilt top. Thanks for joining me today. If you'd like to see more of our Quilting Quickly tutorials, please visit our website.